Part 26. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 255. Guju, thank you very much for helping Chin-Chi. It's time for us to leave after disturbing you for so long. Seeing Gucci come in, Sutingyu raised a polite and distant smile on his face. Chin-Chi slightly stretched out his head from behind Sutingyu. When he heard what the latter said, he immediately nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Gucci lowered his head slightly and laughed softly. What? Can you take good care of him? Why don't you bother Guju to worry about this kind of thing? Although Sutingyu was a little surprised by the meaning of taking care in Gucci's words, she still responded with an unyielding expression. Gucci's eyes gradually became cold. Your care meant that he was almost kidnapped by a pervert. What do you mean? Sutingyu gradually frowned. Gucci didn't reply. He glanced at Chin-Chi, who was a little curious and confused. He calmed down his tone and said coldly, "Come out and talk." After saying that, regardless of whether Sutingyu would agree or not, Gucci turned around and left the room. Sutingyu was stunned for a moment, then turned to look at Chin-Chi. "Kikai, stay here, I'll go out for a while." Yet Chin-Chi hugged the little panda tightly. Sutingyu touched Chin-Chi's head, turned and left the room, closing the door. Not far outside the door, Gucci was facing Sutingyu. Hearing the footsteps behind him, Gucci spoke slowly. The person who is eyeing Chin-Chi this time is Xiang Qiaoxiu from the Xiang family. She is the fiancée that the Qin family originally planned to set for Chin-Chi. After listening to Gucci explain the origin of this inexplicable kidnapping from beginning to end, Sutingyu's face darkened inexplicably. At this time, it was rare for Sutingyu to have the same idea as Gucci. Xiangjia. Also worthy. Also, don't forget, Xiao Si may have started investigating your real identities. Are you sure you can protect Chin-Chi? After taking him out of the manor, Gucci took his time and answered all the questions. Throwing it in front of Sutingyu, he quietly waited for Sutingyu to choose the answer he wanted. And Sutingyu had to admit that what Gucci said was the truth. If Chin-Chi's situation had not been exposed, Sutingyu would never have given Gucci a chance to see Chin-Chi face to face. But after the series of things happened, Sutingyu never expected that Gucci would react so quickly and send someone to monitor them as soon as the copy was released. Sutingyu thought that when she was still in the settlement space, she was delayed in returning to reality by Chibubi's news that she was preparing to trade. Could this be part of Gucci's plan? She was very clear in her heart, but Sutingyu had no intention of losing her momentum first. She immediately asked, listening to what Gucci said, "Do you want Chin-Chi to stay in the manor?" Gucci turned around and looked directly into Sutingyu's eyes. Why not? Seeing Gucci's quick and affirmative answer, Sutingyu was really confused. No, if I remember correctly, you two have a happy Children's Day, right? Sutingyu looked Gucci up and down. Don't tell me that you, Gucci, are considerate of employees and considerate to allow employees to live in your home. Gucci, why does this last sentence sound weird? No, Gucci didn't even think about it, and denied Sutingyu's strange reason, which seemed to come from insufficient blood supply to the brain. After thinking about it, he decided to tell the truth. Qinlin is an old friend I have been looking for many years. He is my younger brother. Although he is not a close relative, he is better than a close relative. Even if one day I go crazy and want to kill everyone in the world. But other than him, I can never hurt him at all. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 256. After a moment of silence, Sutingyu stared at Gucci and said, "Why should I trust you?" "Ha, do I need your belief?" Gucci sneered, as if he heard some funny joke. Then his smile faded and he said in a deep voice, "Whether you agree or not, Chin-Chi must stay here." For a moment, there seemed to be some kind of tense atmosphere between the two, with a hint of gunpowder filling the air. Sutingyu tilted her head and said in a cold tone, I still have some things to do. I have to go back to the Magic City. Fatty has to stay in the manor to take care of Qinchi. Qinchi currently only trusts me and Fatty, and doesn't trust outsiders. As Sutingyu explained the matter in a calm voice, the extremely tense atmosphere at the scene slowly dissipated, as if it had never appeared before. Gucci nodded slightly. Well, I will arrange for someone to replace Fen Nanbei as the driver and let him take care of Qinchi. I will be back in 3 days. Don't let me see Qinchi bumping into each other. Otherwise, no matter how powerful your Gu family is, I can destroy it with one force. After saying that, Sutingyu turned back. He walked into the room and planned to say goodbye to Qinchi. In the corridor, Gucci lowered his head slightly and glanced at the white gloves he was wearing. Tisk. He was actually threatened. Moreover, there is no way to take revenge. After waiting outside the corridor for half a minute, Gucci just walked into the room and heard Sutingyu's last voice telling Qinchi. Kikai, I will come back to see you in 2 days. You have to be good, you know. After Sutingyu said goodbye to Qinchi, he left the room. Seeing that Qinchi was still staring in the direction of the door, Gucci couldn't help but say, she's gone, don't look at her. Qinchi lowered his head and said in a muffled voice, the big fish will come back. Seeing this, Gucci walked over and was about to reach out and touch Qinchi's head. The latter noticed it and immediately turned his head away. He stared at Gucci with his round eyes open. Don't touch me. I didn't touch you, I just wanted to touch your little panda. Gucci withdrew his hand with a look of regret. Qinchi shook his head and refused, no. At this time, Gucci was a little confused, so he asked, I'm not allowed to touch you? And you're not allowed to touch your little panda? Yes, no touching. Qinchi nodded. Gucci sat down on the edge of the bed, took off his white gloves, and continued to ask, why aren't I allowed to touch you? Qinchi paused for 2 seconds and whispered, you are a bad person. Gucci's expression was stunned for a moment. When did he become a bad guy? Gucci's eyes fell on the little panda in Qinchi's arms, and his voice was a little curious, then why am I not allowed to touch the little panda? Qinchi hesitated for a moment, then hesitantly said, in the dream, there was a bad guy who wanted to steal the red panda. Gucci, in a dream? And, I also cut off one of the red panda's ears. It was very bad. Qinchi looked at the 2 intact ears of the red panda in her arms, and gradually felt sorry for the red panda who had lost its ears in the dream. Gucci, why does it sound like it's all your fault? Gucci reacted and guessed that Qinchi had confused what happened in the copy and thought it was a dream. When you wake up from the dream, many things will be forgotten. Perhaps only 1 or 2 impressive things will be remembered. So, in the current situation, the child only remembers that he is a bad person in the copy? Or a bad guy who cut off a red panda's ears? Thinking of this, Gucci felt vaguely regretful. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 257. After Sutingyu went downstairs, Chibubi and Fatty were sitting in the living room. When the fat man saw Sutingyu coming down, he quickly stood up and said, Boss, our brother Chin okay? Yes. Sutingyu nodded. Fat man, I have to go back to the Magic City for something. It should take 2 or 3 days. During this period, I'll ask you to take more care of Qinchi. Okay, boss, I will definitely take good care of brother Qin, the fat man promised, patting his chest. Chibubi spoke at the right time. Miss Su, do you need me to send a car to take you to the airport or high-speed rail station? Then I'll trouble assistant Chi. Sutingyu said with a fake smile on his face. It would be a fool not to take advantage of it, let alone take advantage of it. Although they had reluctantly made peace now, Sutingyu was still a little annoyed. In less than 2 minutes, Chibubi arranged for a car and driver. After getting in the car, Sutingyu lowered her head and played with her mobile phone. When I clicked on WeChat, I saw a WeChat message from Deputy Captain Wang. Auntie, the person who ordered people to kidnap your friend is Xiang Qiaoxiu, the eldest daughter of the Xiang family in Kyoto. Now he has been suspected of kidnapping. Detained at the police station. When Sutingyu heard these 3 words, his eyes became fierce, and he even typed with a bit of ferocity, "Kill her to death. If you don't, I will." After waiting for almost half a minute, Deputy Wang sent a new message. "Auntie, I think, you don't need to take action anymore." Xiang Jio was suddenly pulled off his horse, and he probably won't be able to stand up. Sutingyu's expression became condensed, and she typed a reply, "Huh? What's going on?" "Deputy Wang, go and check the hot searches on Weibo." Sutingyu's curiosity was piqued and she clicked on Weibo on her phone. Several hot searches related to keywords such as Xiang family and Xiang family group appeared at the top. Sutingyu clicked in and looked over one by one. Who did this? Who did this? After browsing around, Sutingyu returned to WeChat, made a direct voice call, and asked Deputy Wang. "Deputy Wang, I don't know, but it can be regarded as helping us. If this kind of thing had not happened to the Xiang Consortium, Xiang Qiaoxiu might not have been taken away and detained so easily. Now that her biggest backer is gone, she will act in accordance with the law. I will remind the police station and peel off several layers of her skin. The sentence will be as long as possible." Seeing this result, Sutingyu lost most of his anger. "That's okay. Okay, Grandma, just calm down. That's it for now, let's not talk anymore." Sutingyu turned her head and looked through the rear window at the Gu's manor fading away in the distance. Could it be Gucci who brought down the Xiang family? At this time, in the Gu family's manor, Chibubi arranged a place for the fat man and then returned to find Gucci in the study room. "Master, the Xiang family has been dealt with according to your instructions." Chibubi reported the results he just received to Gucci. "Well, be careful and don't get turned over by Xiang Jia." Regarding the result, Gucci was not surprised. Long before Gucci was ready to return to Kyoto, he began to send people to collect all kinds of overt and covert information in the Kyoto circle. In fact, Gucci had already grasped the Xiang family's dirty information. Before this, Gucci had no impression of the Xiang family, and he was too lazy to spend energy to bring down a Xiang family. But this time, because of Qin Chi's incident, the Xiang family was in trouble. "Don't worry, Master, Xiang's family can't stand up." Chibubi's eyes flashed. "By the way, there is a strange thing. When he brought down the Xiang family consortium, he originally wanted to find Xiang Qiaoxiu, but instead it was found that she had been taken away by the police." Gucci frowned slightly. "What's going on?" The news came back that Xiang Qiaoxiu was suspected of kidnapping and was detained. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-K. Chapter 258. Gucci gradually frowned and began to think deeply. Who did Xiang Qiaoxiu offend? Is this timing so coincidental? Gucci suddenly remembered Sutingyu's threatening words before leaving. Originally, Gucci didn't take it to heart. But now, could it be that Angel Su did it? From now on, outsiders are strictly prohibited from entering and exiting the main house. If you want to have a small meeting or take people to other places, no one is allowed to approach the main house without my permission. There were many people with mixed eyes, so just in case, and to allow Qin Chi to have a good environment to recuperate, Gucci informed Chibubi of the decision he had planned from the beginning. Chibubi, "Okay, Master, I'll inform the others right away. Also, keep an eye on Xiao Si." Although he was not afraid of how Xiao Si would target him personally, Qin-Chi's current situation must not be known to that crazy criticizing old fox. This possibility must be nipped in the bud. Okay, seeing that nothing happened, Chibubi said, "Master, I'll go down first." "Wait a minute." Gucci stopped Chibubi and thought for a few seconds. "Go and find out Angel Su's true identity." Chibubi looked slightly startled. At this moment, Chibubi suddenly remembered that the true identities of Qin-Chi and Fatty had been found out, but that Angel Su, so far, they only knew her surname was Su. It was she who revealed it first. "Okay, Master," Chibubi responded. After Chibubi went out, Gucci sat in his seat for a moment and then stood up. When Gucci came to the room where Qin-Chi stayed again, he saw the fat man sitting on the edge of the bed, holding a mobile phone in his hand and playing something horizontally for Qin-Chi to watch. Qin-Chi opened his round eyes and stared at the phone screen curiously. Boss Fatty greeted Gucci when he saw him coming in. "Yes." Gucci nodded slightly. "You go out first." "Huh? Me?" The fat man was a little confused. He had to listen to the boss, but the boss asked him to take care of Brother Qin. Gucci didn't see the fat man move and glanced at him coldly again. "Okay, okay. Get out immediately." The fat man jumped up from the bed in a panic. "Brother Qin, I will come back to accompany you later." Qin-Chi looked confused and watched the fat man slip out of the room, closing the door thoughtfully. "Fat man!" Qin-Chi called softly in a daze, but it didn't help. The fat man slipped away. Qin-Chi slowly lowered his head and couldn't help but hug the little panda tightly with his arms again. Gucci thought that Qin-Chi was looking at his phone just now, and there were some sounds coming from it, as if he was watching some funny video, so he asked tentatively, "Are you bored staying in the room?" Qin-Chi glanced at Gukio in confusion and nodded, "Yeah." "How about installing a TV in the room later?" Gucci asked again. When Qin-Chi heard this, his eyes lit up slightly, and he raised his head. "Is that okay?" "Yeah, okay." Gu nodded. "Thank you." Qin-Chi pursed her lips and whispered her thanks. "It seems that he is not bad, right?" At this time, the corridor outside the door. This should be fine, right?" The fat man pressed his whole body against the door, his ears attached to the surface of the door panel, trying to hear what was going on inside. As soon as the fat man came out, he regretted it. In the dungeon, Brother Qin and the boss don't deal with each other. This, we are in the same room. The boss won't bully Brother Qin, right? The fat man standing close to the door was worrying about what would happen if there was really a noise inside. Did he break into the door and help Brother Qin? Or break down the door and grab the boss? It's terrible, it's so hard to choose. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 259. There's no sound. Is the soundproofing so strong? The fat man changed the door panel several times, but he couldn't hear the slightest movement from inside. "Mr. Feng." At this time, a surprised voice suddenly sounded from behind the fat man. The fat man suddenly trembled. After taking several steps back, he turned around and saw the gentle Chibubi. "Ahaha, it turns out to be Assistant Chi. What a coincidence." The fat man scratched his head and used a smile to cover up his embarrassment. Chibubi's expression at this moment was quite strange. "Are you?" "Ahaha, it's okay, it's okay. It's nothing. I didn't hear anything." The fat man denied it 3 times in a row. Denial was quick and decisive. "But, isn't this just asking for it?" Chibubi smiled on his face. "Mr. Feng, are you worried that Master Ju and young Master Qi won't get along?" "Ah." The fat man chuckled awkwardly, not knowing how to answer the question. "You can't just say it directly. The boss's noble and arrogant attitude of killing anyone who messes with him. Is he afraid that Brother Qin, who is now even more stupid than himself, will suffer a loss?" And complaining about the boss in front of his special assistant? Do you still want this job? Mr. Feng, please don't worry. Master Ju will not make trouble with young Master Chi again now. As sharp as Chi Booby, he also understood Fatty's concerns at this moment. After all, his father's previous actions in the dungeon were not convincing at all. It was really hard for people to believe that Gu Kiwi's attitude changed drastically and he was willing to follow Qin Chi got along well with each other. Ah! Why, the fat man was a little confused when he heard this. That's it? Chi Booby thought about his words and briefly mentioned a past incident between Gu Chi and Qin Chi to the fat man. So that's it? Fatty suddenly realized that the person the boss had been looking for was actually Brother Qin. This, to be able to meet each other after so many years and enter the same dungeon is a great fate, right? But the fat man always felt a little unreal. Assistant Chi, you didn't lie to me, did you? It's absolutely true. Seeing Fatty's dubious attitude, Chi Booby thought for a moment and said, Miss Su is aware of this past incident, so she feels comfortable letting Chi Xiao stay at Master Ju's house. Mr. Feng, you don't have to believe my words, but as your friend, Miss Su, her judgment and choices are always trustworthy, right? Hiss. It seems so. The fat man was confusedly convinced. This is not because he is stupid, but because he trusts the boss's judgment and choice. Fatty comforted himself several times in his heart. Mr. Feng? Why don't you go down and sit down for a while? We may not be able to finish the conversation in a while. Chi Booby gave thoughtful suggestions. This. The fat man glanced at the door a few times in embarrassment, then shook his head and refused. No, I'd better guard it. He had promised the boss that he would take good care of Brother Qin. Watching outside the door, you can know in time if anything happens. Seeing that the fat man was resolute, Chi Booby didn't know what to say and asked a servant to bring a chair for the fat man to sit on. So, the fat man sat on a chair against the wall with a contented look on his face, took out his mobile phone, and played short videos. From time to time, he would lean on the door and listen to what was going on inside, although he never heard any sound. The other side. Su Tingyu arrived at the high-speed rail station. After buying the ticket, take the high-speed train back to Shanghai. By the time we returned to the Magic City, it was almost dark. Su Tingyu first sent a message to Sister Fei, saying that she had returned. Sister Fei responded quickly. She asked Su Tingyu to go home and rest for a night before coming back to the company the next day. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan K. Chapter 260. The next day. Early in the morning, Su Tingyu was awakened by Sister Fei's fatal serial calls. Get up, get up, get up. Don't be late. I know. After the call ended, Su Tingyu went to wash up with his head on his head. An hour later, when she went out again, Su Tingyu was still a pretty little fairy. Su Tingyu rode on his beloved bicycle and walked slowly to the door of the company. When parking the car, Su Tingyu was about to bend down to lock the bicycle when something seemed to flash behind her. Su Tingyu turned around and glanced around. Apart from the parked vehicles and only a few passers-by, he found nothing unusual. It's weird. Su Tingyu was slightly confused. At this time, Sister Fei called again to urge people, are you here? Ancestor. Here, we're at the company door. I'll be here soon, Su Tingyu replied, hung up the call and walked towards the company door. In a small black car, Jin Duoqian put down the camera in his hand. This girl seems to have not come to Yeyu for many days. Is she a regular employee? Or a newly trained trainee? That's not right. Which one, regular employee or trainee, would not come to the company for 7 or 8 days? Jin Duoqian gradually noticed something was wrong. But Jin Duoqian couldn't figure out what exactly was wrong. As usual, Sutingyu changed clothes in the exclusive lounge, put on a mask, and then came to the recording studio. When Sutingyu arrived, she saw Sister Fei discussing something with the staff. Sutingyu walked over and said, "Sister Fei, what song do you want to record?" "You're finally here." Sister Fei turned around, saw Sutingyu, and immediately handed a piece of paper to the latter. "This is the playlist, take a look." Sutingyu took it and read the song titles above. They were all familiar songs. She couldn't help but curiously asked, "Huh? Don't these all have original singers? Why did you go to all the trouble to ask me to come back and record these? I suddenly got an order from above. I don't know. The copyright has been negotiated with the original singer in advance. We will ensure that these songs will not be used commercially. In short, you just follow the instructions," Sister Fei explained. Oh. Sutingyu looked at the playlist a few more times, but still didn't see anything fishy. However, these songs have one thing that is very similar, that is, these songs have relatively positive energy, and after listening to them, people will have a sense of vigorous and upward power. It's so good, why do you want to do this? Sutingyu was puzzled. Come on, everything is debugged, let's get started. Teacher Angel, please take your place. Sutingyu didn't wait long, and preparations were already underway. Seeing this, Sutingyu put the problem aside for the time being and began to devote himself to recording songs. We worked until 12 o'clock at noon. Everyone was hungry, so they all went to eat and rest before continuing their work in the afternoon. Sutingyu is no exception. For convenience, Sutingyu chose to eat in the company's canteen. Likewise, she returned to the exclusive lounge first, changed into her original clothes, took off her mask, and then trotted down alone to queue up for food in the canteen. Just when Sutingyu found an empty table and was about to sit down and enjoy the food, there was a commotion at the door of the canteen. It's Shan Yu. Why is Shan Yu here? Some time ago, didn't Shan Yu complain that the food in the company canteen was unpalatable? Let me count, how many updates are owed to the Jia gang on the list? 1, 2, 3, the more I owe, the more I owe. I can't fish anymore. Next copy, rise. Start paying off your debt. Go, 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 go. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 261. Sutingyu picked up a piece of meat and ate it in one bite, then looked towards the door while chewing. Among the crowd, there was a beautiful woman, tall and graceful, with a curvy figure and charming appearance. Her every smile and every gesture was alluring. Wearing a bright and moving burgundy tight skirt, it is so bright that it is thrilling, just like the fierce color of the red rose blooming wantonly at a casual glance among the thorns. Sutingyu held her chin with one hand, happily admiring the rare beauty's fierce face. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. As bright as the bright moon, as hot as the scorching sun, and with such a beautiful color, no wonder Shan Yu is so popular just because of her appearance. In just a few seconds, as soon as the star-studded Shan Yu arrived in the dining hall, he became the absolute center of attention. Sutingyu saw that some male colleagues and even female colleagues had begun to take out their mobile phones and take pictures of Shan Yu's beauty. Seeing this, Sutingyu lowered his head in despair, biting the tip of his chopsticks, and his heart gradually turned into lemon juice. Oh, wow, the little fairy is not envious at all. Is there anyone here? A faint fragrance hit her. Sutingyu raised her head in confusion and saw that Shan Yu had arrived in front of her at some point. A slender white finger stretched out and pointed at the empty seat opposite the dining table like a dragonfly. No, no, Sutingyu was stunned for a moment and quickly shook his head. Shan Yu asked again, "Can I sit here?" Sutingyu nodded quickly, "Okay, okay." Sister Yu, there are too many people here. How about we go up to eat? There is an exclusive private room up there. The person next to Shan Yu persuaded. Shan Yu raised his eyes and said, I won't go. As soon as the words fell, the man immediately silenced himself and did not dare to persuade him any more. Sutingyu ate the rice in the bowl quietly, but from time to time, he couldn't help but glance up at Shan Yu opposite him. Suck at this 360-degree beauty full of collagen. Suck at this endless stretch of majestic mountain peaks. Suck at these long, delicate white legs. Ouch ouch, she can't survive. No no no. She's okay. Epsilon, suck. After Shan Yu took a sip of soup, she felt someone staring at her in front of her. Shan Yu frowned slightly, but when she raised her eyes and looked over, she was slightly startled. It was the little girl opposite who was staring at her, but, what was that expression with the green eyes? Shan Yu suddenly asked, what's your name? Sutingyu said and when she came to her senses, she realized that it was Shan Yu who was asking her, so she quickly replied, hello sister, my name is Sutingyu, you can call me Susu. Listen, Yu. After saying that, Sutingyu blinked his big eyes at Shan Yu, looking cute and cute. Then, Susu, what do you do? Shan Yu chuckled and asked. I'm here to work part-time and do odd jobs under Sister Fei. Sutingyu told Shan Yu what Sister Fei had told her in advance. That's it? Shan Yu took a look at Sutingyu. The latter was short in stature and had a soft and cute appearance. Even underage high school students would believe him. Coming to the company part-time, that does make sense. Shan Yu thought slightly and asked, how about, Susu, you become my assistant? How about it? Sutingyu's face was confused. Sister Fei and I know each other, so it shouldn't be a big deal to ask her for a date. Well, I'll give you double your salary at Sister Fei's place, Shan Yu promised grandly. Sutingyu almost agreed, but fortunately at the last moment, her rationality returned a little. She shook her head repeatedly, no, no, no. I'm used to being under Sister Fei's hands. I'm sorry, sister. Joke. If she nodded and agreed for the sake of beauty, Sister Fei would definitely kill her. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 262. Oh well. Shan Yu thought of it for a moment and didn't force it. In fact, after she said it, she regretted that she was too hasty. 5 minutes later, Shan Yu stood up, with a slight smile on his pretty face. I'm leaving first, little sister Susu. Goodbye, sister. Sutingyu glanced at Shan Yu's almost untouched meal, and then waved goodbye. After the person left, Sutingyu lowered his head and muttered to himself, it's true that she is beautiful and moody, but her temper doesn't seem to be as bad as the rumors say. It was just a small episode. Sutingyu didn't pay much attention to it. After finishing the meal, he went back to work. It took 2 days, and after all the songs were recorded, Sutingyu was chased away by Sister Fei, who disliked her as much as she wanted. It is no longer the same ancestor as it was 2 days ago. Sutingyu said he didn't care at all. She is going back to find Kikai. Sigma, oh yeah. Gu's manor, in front of the gate. Because Sutingyu informed Chibubi in advance, as soon as she reported her identity, the guard opened the door and let Sutingyu in after confirming her identity. Boss. After Sutingyu entered the main villa, Fatty's voice came from the stairs. Fat man, how is Qin-Chi? Sutingyu saw that Fat man's expression was normal, so Qin-Chi's life here should be fine. Boss, you are here. Brother Qin is doing well, but he will talk about you from time to time. During the conversation, the two came to the second floor. Brother Qin, who do you think is here? The fat man opened the door and asked Qin-Chi cheerfully, who was watching TV on the bed. When Qin-Chi heard the movement, he turned his head and locked eyes with Sutingyu. Qin was startled for a moment, then his eyes slowly widened, and he called out in surprise, "Big fish." Sutingyu walked in. With a smile, she raised her hand and touched Qin's head. "Big U is back to see Kikai. Is Kikai happy?" "Well, I'm happy," Qin said, moving the little panda in his arms with his arms. "The little panda is also very happy." Sutingyu pinched Qin's cheek again, feeling that his face seemed to have a little more flesh, because the texture had improved a lot. "Is Kikai watching TV?" Sutingyu turned around and saw the TV in the room. It seemed that there was no TV before she left. "Yes," Qin responded. Then, he hesitated for a moment and whispered, "Big U, it seems, he is not very bad." Sutingyu was stunned for 2 seconds before she realized who Qin was talking about. Tisk tisk. In just 2 days, how did that bitch Gucci trick him into trying to please Qin? At this time, 2 people walked in from the door of the room that was not closed. "Miss Su." Sutingyu turned around and looked back. It was Gucci and Chibubi. Gucci glanced at Sutingyu expressionlessly and said nothing. Chibubi took a step forward and said, "The 4th batch of closed beta players have appeared." As soon as these words came out, Sutingyu's expression became solemn. For this batch of new players, the difficulty of the first round of dungeons is no longer limited to 1 or 2 stars. We may encounter new players in the next dungeons. Chibubi briefly explained the situation, then turned to look at Sutingyu. "In addition, Miss Su, someone has placed a reward on you." Reward order? What is this? Sutingyu looked confused. "There are players who bid in the game and want to target you. As long as you are killed once in the dungeon, you can get the bounty, and there is no upper limit." Tisk tisk. After Sutingyu understood, there was no trace of panic on his face. "Okay. Excellent people are always easy to be targeted." Next, Chibubi asked Sutingyu when he entered the dungeon. "Because the next Dragon Boat Festival event dungeon is coming soon. If you want to participate in the event dungeon, you will have to wait for a while. During this period, you will have to enter 2 rounds of normal dungeons." Sutingyu thought about it and decided to enter the dungeon on June 6th. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 263. Tick-tock, tick-tock. In the kitchen, water dripped intermittently from the untightened faucet on the sink. In the gray interior, the light is dim. The old and yellowed curtains are tightly pulled up to cover the windows. Scattered furniture is placed on the floor, such as sofas, coffee tables, TVs, dining tables. When Sutingyu's vision gradually became clearer, what he saw was this scene. The location where Sutingyu was now was the living room, and behind it was a kitchen and a bedroom. In the bedroom, a small space was opened up to serve as a bathroom. After walking around the whole room, Sutingyu felt that the place was deserted, as if no one had lived there for a long time. However, there was not much dust in the room. Judging from the situation, someone came to clean it from time to time. Sutingyu's eyes fell on where she was standing. There was a white suitcase standing next to her. Is this a rental house? Then I am a tenant, Sutingyu secretly speculated in his mind. After some speculation, Sutingyu opened the panel to read the introduction to this copy. Copy, Angel Apartment. Background: when Angel Apartments was not built, the owner hoped that every future resident from all over the world could live in harmony. A small house or an apartment is a microcosm of an entire city, or even the dying vat of society. Will this place be a haven of peace of mind? At midnight, the undead wandering between the lines of yin and yang may scream unwillingly, or get lost, or indulge in raging. Number of players, 20. Main mission, Find out the cause of death of all residents of Angel apartment within 5 days. Difficulty, 5 stars. Duration, 5 days. Pass-through rewards: after clearing the level, you can get a certain amount of game currency, and have a probability of getting game props and lottery opportunities. Penalty for failure: 1000 game coins deducted. When Sutinyu saw the main mission, his expression was slightly startled. Ah! Check the cause of death? Can I call 110? She's just an ordinary little singer, so she can't take away the job of the police uncle, right? Isn't this a puzzle copy? Sutinyu muttered. The main task is to find out the causes of death of all the residents before you can pass the level. In this round of dungeons, even if you survive to the end, you will still fail the level if you fail to find out all the causes of death. Now, the fat man couldn't even think about it. Tisk tisk. Since it is the cause of death, it means that there have been dead people in Angel apartment, and the murderer is likely to be hidden in the copy. Hiss, it's so scary. In addition, in the background of this copy, the first half is relatively normal, and then in the second half, the style of painting changes suddenly. The undead are so cute, so, it's still a horror copy? Another copy with dual attributes. Sutinyu felt that there was no use staying in the room and wanted to go out and look for Qin-Chi and the others. However, the second after Sutinyu's hand touched the door handle, she paused. Undead? I seem to have seen it somewhere. Sutinyu opened the panel and quickly pulled out the previous introduction to the Death Blade. Can harvest souls, summon the undead and control the undead, is immune to soul type and mental attacks, and uses various abilities during the day to weaken 30%. Huh, Sutinyu blinked his big eyes. She read the introduction of the Death Blade several times. The meaning of it, couldn't it be that my mediocre scythe, after 2 rounds of dungeons, could finally regain its glory? Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 264. Click. Sutinyu opened the door and stepped out. As the slight sound of the door opening and footsteps sounded one after another, the voice-controlled lighting in the corridor also lit up with a hazy yellow-like light. Sutinyu turned around and glanced at the door panel through which she came out. There was a house number hanging on it, 404. The house number that can't be poked by a needle. Click. At this time, a door next to Sutinyu's left hand was opened from the inside, and a graceful beauty wearing red high heels walked out. Well. For a moment, the two people in the corridor looked at each other, with the same astonishment and surprise in their eyes. Shan Yu. It's you. Sutinyu was really shocked. Unexpectedly, as soon as this round of dungeons started, I ran into Shan Yu, whom I had met and chatted with in the company a few days ago. What on earth is going on? What does this parallel paradise do? Shan Yu, who met someone he knew and entered the dungeon for the first time, directly asked out his doubts. Hearing this, Sutinyu raised his eyebrows slightly. Shan Yu is the 4th batch of players to enter the parallel paradise this month. Before entering the dungeon, Chibubi told them that they might meet new players in the dungeon. Unexpectedly, not only did they meet new players this time, but they also met someone they knew in real life. Do you understand the introduction to Parallel Paradise at the beginning? Sutinyu asked briefly. Seeing Shan Yu's doubtful expression, she shrugged. We are selected as internal beta players, enter the dungeon, and complete the main mission to clear the level and get certain rewards. If we fail to pass the level, the game currency will be deducted, and we may even die in reality. So, what kind of parallel paradise is this, where people die? Sutinyu nodded, yes. After getting the second confirmed answer, Shan Yu frowned, but it only lasted for a few seconds, and gradually relaxed. There was no hysteria or collapse and fear expression as Sutinyu imagined. Aren't you afraid of death? With such curiosity in his heart, Sutinyu asked. Upon hearing this, Shan Yu seemed to have heard something strange, and her red lips curled slightly. I am a patient with congenital heart disease who is judged not to live to be 30 years old. I already don't care whether I will die or not. Su Tingyu's eyes widened slightly. Ah! It is rumored on the internet that Shan Yu has a heart disease. Is it true? Shan Yu was at the peak of his career when he debuted, and his stardom was dazzling. It has always been smooth sailing, he is very popular, and he is a real traffic celebrity, but he is also surrounded by a lot of dirty stuff. Among them, there is one about Shan Yu pretending to have a heart disease and using excuses to frame newcomers or bully newcomers in Hongdian. When it was revealed that Shan Yu had a heart disease, even most of her fans didn't believe it. Because this woman has a queen's disease and an arrogant and cunning personality. From morning to night, she is either tossing or on the road to tossing. That's it? Who would believe she really had a heart attack? Which heart patient is not squeamish and delicate? Seeing Su Tingyu's obviously confused expression, Shan Yu snorted, covered his lips with his hands, and laughed out loud. No way. It's just a joke, do you really believe it? Su Tingyu slowly blinked his big eyes and said sincerely, why don't you believe it? Players who can enter this game are all more or less defective. Oh? Really? Shan Yu said with a smile on his face. Then Susu, what is your problem?